Hare Krishna. How are you, my friends? Good to see you. Manu Dasa has asked me to speak today, so here I am. Om Jnanatamannandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today's talk I'm entitling Love. Today is the 20th of June, 2021, and tomorrow is the 21st, the summer solstice, where the sun stands still. The sun will be completing his Uttarayana, his northern course, and he will stop and turn around, so to speak, and go back south, beginning his Dakshinayana. Uttarayana and Dakshinayana each lasts for 6 months. So there, that completes your year. Okay, let's go on to our talk about love. What do we all want in this world, the material world? Love. And what do souls want in the spiritual world, do you think? The same, my friends. They want love. Everybody wants love. So let's talk about the types of yoga with which yoga practice with which we can link with God, link with the divine, link with spirit. We have karma yoga. With karma yoga, you can remove karmic reaction by offering all your actions to Krishna, to God, and remove the possible reaction, future reactions. Next level, we have Ashtanga yoga, or asana and pranayama, etc. And that produces mystic siddhis, or powers, when done, to a very high level and for a long time. The next level, jnana yoga, yoga of knowledge and understanding, philosophical understanding. And the goal of jnana yoga for most people is moksha, liberation from the wheel of samsara, repeated birth and death. And the fourth one, the one we practice in Krishna consciousness, is bhakti yoga, the yoga of love and devotion, in which we have a loving reciprocal relationship with God himself, Krishna. The only one of these yogic methods whereby the means and the end are exactly the same is bhakti. We practice love and devotion and learning how to love Krishna or love God, whatever manifestation of God that you may prefer. And then when we become liberated souls and we reach the spiritual realm, we are busy doing the same thing, loving God in a reciprocal exchange, a loving relationship. Let us quote Prabhupada, our founder, Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Prabhupada says, a philosopher or jnani is better than a materialist, a karmi. A mystic yogi is superior to a philosopher, and among all mystics, one who follows the path of love and devotion to God, or bhakti yoga, is the highest. Now, he is also mentioned, and it is mentioned throughout Bhagavad Dharma or Bhakti literature, There's two sides to this. Spirituality and the development of spirituality. Spirituality without a philosophical basis is nothing but sentimentality, or worse, for some, fanaticism. You need a philosophical grounding. Spirituality, on the other hand, without love and devotion, is nothing but intellectual conjecture and mental speculation. So, my friends, both the head and the heart must be connected, and they must participate in spiritual development. You can't just have a loving reciprocal relationship without understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it, without a sound philosophical basis, which we get with the Vedas, specifically the three main shastras, or scriptures, treatises that we use are Bhagavad Gita, spoken by Krishna, Srimad-Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Purana is another name for it, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now let me just finish this. Otherwise, if we don't connect the head and the heart, we risk becoming polarized by one or the other. Let's talk about degrees of God realization. The unrealized person believes that there is no God. The least realized person believes that God is fear and retribution. God will instill fear in you and he will punish you. The partially realized person believes that he is God. Well, that's true on the one hand, and that's Brahman realization. It is a legitimate level or degree of realization. But he is not God in totality. We are all parts and parcels of God. We are finite beings, and God is an infinite being. That's the difference. And then the fully realized person believes that God is love and yearns to love him. There are 7 stages of love. What are they? Number 1, love of spouse or your partner. Number 2, love of children. Number 3, love of family. Number 4, love of nation. Number 5, love of humanity. Number 6, universal love. And number 7, love of God. So they gradually get higher and higher. Why? Because love of God encompasses all the others, whereas any of the ones below it do not encompass all of them together. So what do we learn from the Bhagavad Purana, from the Srimad-Bhagavatam? Savai pungsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahaituki yapratyāhṛta yayatma suprasidati. So what does this mean? Wonderful verse. The supreme occupation or dharma for all humanity is that by which people can attain to the loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated or unconditional. That's what that means. And uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Ahaituki apratiyata. Ahaituki, the root word of ahaituki is hetu, which is cause. It has to be causeless. If you're bargaining with God, well, look, God, I'll do this for you if you do that for me. I'll serve you in this way. In exchange, you give me this and this and this. You do this and this for me. That's not a haituki. That's conditional love. That's a bargain. That's an agreement. Pratyāhṛta, which means uninterrupted, steady, fixed, not just when you're in the mood. It's not like you have to constantly, you can't get on with your work and your daily responsibilities. You can, but know that you've offered it all to Krishna and Krishna is there with you. Develop the concept that Krishna is there. He's accompanying you. He's driving your chariot like he did for Arjuna. Prabhupada comments, if you can love God, then everything is a relationship with God. Then you can love every person. You can love your country, you can love your society, you can love your friends, everyone. That is the point. People are thinking differently. Why shall I love God only? I shall love my family, I shall love my country, I shall love my dog. Such love is imperfect. Why? Because something is missing, my friends. And what is missing? The central point. And the central point is everything comes from God. Krishna is the creator. He is the source of everything. So when you love God, everything and everyone is included. Love means recognition. What distresses people most in this world, in the world in which we live? A lack of affection or love. Being recognized for who we are and what we are is far more important to all of us than the things we own or the material desires and goals that we chase. We need and want recognition as individuals, as persons, as humans. We want to be seen. We want to be appreciated on some level. By whom? By lots of people. Friends, acquaintances, people we work with, superiors or supervisors, if you work for somebody, clients, customers, I mean, everybody. We want to be appreciated. Just for nothing? No, for our very essence, for who we are. One of the most important things in relationship is, do you see me? Do you get me? Do you understand me? Because if you don't get understanding from your wife, your husband, your spouse, your partner, what are we doing? Why can't many of us find love in this world? Not everybody can find love. It's not that easy necessarily, is it? Well, there's a statement that you accept the love you believe you deserve. That could be our conditioning from early life, childhood. If we weren't loved, if we weren't seen, if we weren't recognized, if our emotional needs were not met, which is primarily the purview of the mother, or from past lives. So if we believe we don't deserve love on some level, of course, unconsciously, or we believe that we're unlovable, often when a child loses a parent in childhood, whether that parent dies, goes away, there's a divorce, a separation, the parent goes away more often than not, the father, and they don't see the father sometimes ever after that, and sometimes rarely. And the child, because the child can't cognate, the child can't figure it out intellectually what just happened. A child can only respond emotionally. And the emotional response is, well, I did something, I'm not lovable. And because of me, he's gone. So there's something wrong with me. Believe me, my friends, I've got thousands of clients, and I've been through this with so many of them. So if you feel unlovable, we have to get past that. We have to open up and learn how to receive. We're all lovable, all of us. Why? Number one, because we're part and parcel of God, of Krishna. That's why. So love means recognition. What are the 4 qualities you must possess in order to be rewarded with love of God? Number 1, this is very much Bhakti Dharma or Bhagavad Dharma. Number 1, humility. Humility, Prabhupada, over and over again. Amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. We must become humble. Number 2, tolerance. Number 3, regard for others. And number 4, expecting no regard for yourself. Amanina manadena. That's what those words mean. Spiritual advancement is measured in 5 ways. Number 1, humility. Number 2, this is how you know how advanced you are currently, and which you can compare to how you used to be. When? Last year, earlier on in life. So it's measured in 5 ways. Number 1, humility. How humble are you? Now, it's not humiliated. It's humble. It's assuming a position of humility and not blowing yourself out of proportion, self-inflation. Well, look at me. Aren't I the guy? Aren't I wonderful? That's not humility, obviously. Number 2, fearlessness. What can you be afraid of? Nothing. Nothing. Now, if somebody comes up to you and sticks a gun in your face, you're automatically going to have a fear response, my friends. Let's not be naive. But we have to come to the point of fearlessness where we are afraid of nothing. And ultimately, that means that we are not afraid of death, because that ends this existence, correct? Number 3, in other words, how fearless are you? Are you very fearful, or do things not really bother you? So we have to come to that point where things do not bother us. Number 3, service. We're ready to serve. Serve God. Serve Krishna. Something. Do something in some way. Number 4, love and compassion. For who? For everybody. That is a symptom of spiritual development. Love and compassion for all. Not just the people you like or the people you know. That's a hard one. It's a hard one for me. Especially when it comes to politicians. That's my weak point. And number 5, surrender. Surrender to God, right? That's what Krishna tells us in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami mahashuchaha. Just give up all of these various kinds of dharma and this, that, the other. Just surrender unto me, and I'll look after you. Mahashucha, don't worry. Don't fear. Well, how do we test that out? Well, let's take an example. Let's take trust. If someone comes up to you and asks you, can you do me a favor? Well, this could be a person you know. It could be a person you're close to. Can you do me a favor? How do you reply? Do you say yes, no, or it depends? What do you say? Anyone I know, I just say yes. Don't start texting me and testing me out here. But if my wife especially asks me, can you do me a favor? I just say yes, and I do it. And you might argue, well, we can't do that with strangers. Well, you know what, my friends, I have been coming to India and visiting India now for how many years? Close to 50 years. Been there many times, all over India. And one of the first things I learned from the Indian people is when I ask somebody, even a stranger, but maybe connected to something, maybe a guy who owns a shop or who knows, and say, I wonder if you can help me. Yes. What do you need? Well, if you can, then no, I must help you. It is my duty to help you. I have no choice. I must help you. Now, I heard that from lots of people in India. Total stranger. That's such an expansive understanding of Dharma and duty, obligation, and responsibility to a perfect stranger. It doesn't work like that in the Western culture, as we all know. So that's what we do. We help people when called upon, if we can. Okay. Who can offer love? Only a powerful soul can offer love. If we are weak, we become selfish. If we are empty, we take. But if we are filled, we automatically give to all. Powerful soul. Who's our example? Prabhupada. Prabhupada gave and gave and gave and he asked for nothing in return. Nothing. He said, do something for Krishna. If you want, you can help me do this and this and that, because it's all for Krishna. There's no money exchanged. That's Prabhupada. So how much love did he offer? Well, my friends, he's long gone now. He left his body, left the planet in 1977. And there's more people than ever at this point in time taking to Krishna consciousness and bhakti yoga. There are millions now. When one's heart is fixed on God and God realization occurs, eternal love unfolds in the heart. At that time, all suffering ends. All grieving for desires which have not been fulfilled or for things which have been lost comes to an end. This state is called dhriti in Sanskrit, or steadiness of heart. That's a quote from the Vedas. What do we find in the Brahma Samhita? Premanjana churita bhakti velochanena samtak sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yang shama sundaram achincha gunasvarupam govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the original God, Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee, whose eyes are anointed with the ointment of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shamasundara, situated in the heart of the devotee. Beautiful, beautiful verse. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna points out himself in the 10th chapter. He says to Arjuna, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly serving me with love, priti purvakam, serving with priti, with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Krishna will give it to you from within. Am I doing this right? I mean, is my service correct? Is my state of mind correct? Is my heart in the right place? Krishna will show you. If you're sincere, he will show you. Believe me. Here's a quote from Prabhupada. He says, pure devotees realize dealings with the Lord on the transcendental plane. But because devotees are still in the material world, they sometimes think that these are dreams. The Lord, however, talks with the advanced devotee, and the advanced devotee also sees him. It is all factual. It is not a dream. End quote. I remember once my god brother, who was a good friend of mine, Sudama, who's no longer with us, he's passed on. Very gentle soul, lovely soul. And he came into Prabhupada's room in New York when they were at the Matchless Gifts. What is that? 2nd Avenue. His first storefront where he was teaching back in 1965, 66. And Sudama went into his room to bring him some juice, I think it was, and Prabhupada was crying, sitting and crying. And Sudama, he says there was this light, this powerful, pure light, this energy that he's never felt before. He thought Prabhupada was having, obviously a transcendental experience. So he took the juice and went back out. Didn't want to disturb him, which is, of course, thoughtful. So then he waited, I don't know, I can't remember, 10 minutes, and then brought it back in. And Prabhupada was still in this transcendental state of prema, Krishna prema. And he said, put down the juice. He says, Krishna is here, Sudama. He's right there. He has appeared. That's why I'm crying. Because he's here with me now and with you. It's not a dream. That's what he was saying. Love versus power and authority. What's more powerful? Love or power and authority? How many people in the material world are seeking power and authority, my friends? More than we can count, right? What makes the world go around? You know this statement. What makes the world go around? Love makes the world go around. There's no statement that says power and authority and control makes the world go around. Yeah. Ultimately, power does not rule. It does not rule. Now think about this historically. All great empires whose rulers and citizens became stripped of their affection, their compassion, and their love. Eventually, what happened to all these empires and civilizations? They crumbled to dust. And that's what happens to great civilizations when they lose their purity, their purpose, their dharma, their spiritual or religious connection, and they become overly materialistic, or they resort to lust and sense gratificatory indulgence. Not that you can't have a little sense enjoyment in the material world, but if that's your only goal, if that is your supreme goal, I mean, we're seeing it now, my friends. We're seeing it in the U.S. as far as I can tell. I lived most of my life there, and it's not good. There's so much conflict there now. Okay. What is love of God, really? We may admire or praise God with folded hands. That's good. And we're being respectful. It's awe and reverence, veneration. This is good. But do we actually yearn to be with Him? Love is a movement away from ourselves and toward the beloved or the object of love. It's a movement. The energy is moving out. Do you feel that when you pray to Krishna, when you pray to God, or whatever manifestation of God that you prefer? Do you feel that? Do you cry for God? Do you yearn and long to be with Him? That is the stage we have to get to, my friends. That's the stage. That is not an intellectual exercise. That is a complete opening of the heart through love and a reciprocal exchange. And when you're in that state, which we're going to talk about here, nothing compares to it. Shedding tears of separation. You feel a deep sense of bereavement when you lose a loved one, your husband, your wife, your spouse, any loved one, your child, God forbid. You feel your very, very being will break into pieces. But God is far greater than your loved one or your spouse. No. Is your feeling of separation from God like that of a scientist or a mathematician as an intellectual exercise? Or is it the bereavement of a true lover? A rended heart. Let's look at reason versus love. Love transcends understanding, correct? It is beyond rationality. Now, my friends, some of you know this to be true for sure. Love is beyond rationality. Even mundane human love is beyond rationality. I mean, look at even, this is not a positive example, but how many cases are there of people who have been jilted, is the word we use in English, by their love, who says, I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't love you anymore. I'm breaking up with you. Don't call me. And the person that's getting jilted, the person that is being rejected, goes into a state of depression, despondency, anger, and then all the way up to vengeance. And they actually kill the person. They take their life. Yeah? How many times you see it? You see it all the time in the newspaper. This happens all the time. So it's beyond rationality. Reason and rationale lead us to love, but fail. When love manifests, it has nothing to do with reason and rationale. Shakespeare compared a lover to a madman. Oh, of course. And the example is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an example of somebody who is has both the energy of Radha, from that side, Radha and Krishna within his avatar, his incarnation. And he goes into states of paroxysm, transcendental states of madness and love that his body, though spiritual, can't seem to accommodate, and his limbs actually become disjointed. So there's a fine line that divides the genius and the madman. Chaitanya was also a genius. Anything he heard once, he was a shrutidar. Anything he heard once, he remembered. Anything and everything. Okay, so we let go of reason in that sense. Continuing, reason ceases in mortal or human love and also in divine love. But we cannot compare the two. It is like comparing the silence of a person who possesses everything, like an emperor or a chakravarti, and comparing that to the stunned silence of a person who has lost everything. Both are quiet and silent, but the chakravarti is an emperor and owns vast lands and has millions or thousands under his sway, whereas the the other person has lost everything. Big difference. So we can't compare human love and divine love from that point of view. Krishna is not interested in your paraphernalia, your baggage, your criticism, blame, anger, victimization. But this happened to me and that happened to me, so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that. And it's not fair. To be honest, Krishna's not interested in that. Oh yeah, you can tell him about it. The only thing he's truly interested in is your love. What's between you and him? Not all this fufara, not all this maya, all these illusory circumstances that you've got yourself into because you spun this web of material action, karmic web that you yourself got entangled in. Surprise, surprise. And I might add, lifetime after lifetime, my friends. If it were only lifetime, we'd say, oh, well, come on, give the guy a break. There's only one lifetime. No. Here, let me give you a quote from the Mahabharata. Sargakoti sahasrani marananta sumurtishu. You know what this is? Millions upon millions of births have to be gone through by the individual soul in the successive forms he assumes, all of which are subject to death. There's your karmic entanglement in the web that you yourself have spun. Millions upon millions of births. Can you
imagine?
When is time served enough, my friends? When will you get off the wheel, your hamster wheel of repeated birth and death? When? It all ends in death. I've told you how many times. We're all on death row here. We're all on death row. Okay. So the only thing Krishna is interested in is your love, ultimately. Okay. So even so, he says to the gopis, and the gopis gave up everything to be with Krishna and to love Krishna, the cowherd women of Vrindavan, in his youth, in his childhood. This is a quote from the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Krishna speaking, O gopis, I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Lifetime of Brahma, you know how long that is? 4,320,000,000 solar years. 4 billion. Continuing, he says, your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties, which are very difficult to break. Are they not difficult to break, my friends? And he ends by saying, therefore, please, let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. He says, what does he mean? He's, I cannot possibly repay this kind of love. That's what he's saying. And this is Krishna. How can I repay? Because you've given up everything for me. All I can do is be in that loving bond with you and let your deeds be your reward. What the deeds are, you're with Krishna, correct? Krishna loves to glorify those who are devoted to him. And this is also a statement from the Vedas. There's nothing he will not do for their sake. He yearns to serve his devotees. He does not regard even the endless universes to be equal to even one soul who is devoted to him. You can have all of the manifestation and the creation and the wonderment of the endless universes. It doesn't even turn his head compared to one single soul among all of these millions of souls down here in the material world, sunk in the lap of Maya, compared to one soul who's devoted to him. That means everything to him. Right? Well, I mean, what's more important to you? You can walk down the street and down in any city, in the city center, downtown, and you can see thousands or perhaps millions of people, and you can walk among them. Which one is important to you? I dare say the one that's devoted to you. The one with whom you have a loving reciprocal relationship, no? That would be the most important person in that crowd. And you're either going there to meet them, or you just left them, or they're right beside you. Huh? Prabhupada says, this is sort of a side note, but it's connected. This is bhakti yoga. This is some of the symptoms of bhakti yoga right here. He says, In material life, people try to become the master of everything and everyone. Oh yeah, I'm going to become the master. I'm going to take control. I'm going to run this. I'm going to lead this. I'm going to get promoted right up to the top. I'm going to be the CEO or COO or CFO, or as my clients say, the C-suite. My clients who are corporate people. Part of the C-suite. There's like 5 titles, I think. Anyway, people want to become the master of everything and everyone. Same in spiritual life? No. Quite the opposite. In spiritual life, one tries to become the servant of everything and everyone. Then he says, there's no struggle in becoming the servant. Anyone can do it. But there is great struggle in trying to become the master. No. I guess this is, take the, how's it go? Take the path of least resistance. This you'd say, the spiritual world is the path of least resistance. Well, according to this particular statement, it is. It's much easier to serve people. But it's not easier to get out of material entanglement, to extricate yourself from Maya. That's not easier than living in the material world. So here's another statement from Prabhupada. He says, what is the spiritual world? What does it mean? What's it like? He says, love is possible with any living entity. The central object of love is Krishna, is God. That is Vrindavan. That is Goloka Vrindavan. That is the spiritual world. The animals love Krishna. The human beings love Krishna. The trees love Krishna. The flowers love Krishna. The plants love Krishna. The bees, the bumblebees, love Krishna. Everyone loves Krishna in the spiritual world. That is the perfection of love, my friends. Well, since coincidentally it's Father's Day, let's quote Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14. Sarvayonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiya tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija prada pita. So happy Father's Day to all of you who are fathers. And what's the translation for this verse? It should be understood that all species of life, O Arjun, son of Kunti, Kaunteya, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving Father. Aham bija prada pita. That's Krishna. He's the seed-giving Father. All right. This is going to be a short one for you today. The search for love. It is worth mentioning that in this world, each one of us is alone. Although we may sit with each other, lie next to each other, and hold our little ones upon our laps, we are nonetheless ultimately alone in all things. And humans, my friends, don't like to be alone, as you know. Many of us are afraid to be alone. We are afraid of separation, isolation, alienation, abandonment. Yet, when death comes, we are truly alone. No matter how many people are around your bedside, because this journey you are making alone. That is why it is important for you to establish your relationship with your Creator now. Not tomorrow and not later on in life. The sooner you enter into a loving, reciprocal relationship with God, with Krishna, the sooner you will realize that you are never alone, my friends, in anything, no matter the external circumstance. As your relationship with the Supreme Person blossoms and develops, its rewards will go far beyond what can be perceived by human eyes. For it will open your heart to an eternal, unconditional love, and your life of aloneness or loneliness will be over forever. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your kind attention. I want to recognize some of my friends here. Jatinder Dubey is here. Hare Krishna, Jatinder. Yav Satyam Kumar is here. Nirmal Kumar is here. Rooster Arohi is here. I think that's she. And Anju Yamanti is here. Hare Krishna. And Rooster, oh, there's a lot of messages from Rooster. And Harsh Tiwari. And Praveen Sakare. Rupesh Kumar, Bhumika Sharma, Indra Narayan Sa, Hazard Gaming. Okay, Mr. Hazard Gaming. Shiv Pandey, Radhe Krishna, he writes in Hindi. Sonia Gulati, you're welcome, Sonia. You're most welcome. She said thank you for a beautiful class. Oh, and my son is here. Well, that's nice. My son Anukul, he has signed on and given his dad a pranam and a heart. I love you too, my friend, always. And Praveen says, every word was worth listening. Thank you so much. It is my pleasure. It is my privilege. It is Krishna's grace. It is a blessing for me to be able to do this, because I don't know of anything more important. I don't know of anything I can do in this world that has more value, my friends. So I send love to you all. And I wish for you Krishna Prema in this lifetime. Hare Krishna.